Our story begins with a handsome young man, as charming as the moon, whom people would see and say he's from a good family and respectable. But you might think he's a soft young man because he can turn into a ruthless beast. We learn that his name is John, a police officer with a secret mission. We see him surveilling a dangerous gang, filming them as they smuggle an ancient statue which is considered rare. He sends the video to his boss to verify it. The boss is surprised when he sees it because it's a national treasure, and he asks him to be careful while retrieving it. And as he tells him, "What do you think you're doing? I'm a handsome officer, but when it comes to fighting and action, I'm fierce." He decides to attack the gang on his own and asks them to surrender peacefully, but they mock him, saying, "Can't you see how many of us there are?" They didn't realize that he alone is worth millions. One of them goes to attack him, trying to hit him, but John dodges his attack and defeats him in less than a second. The gang gets angry and attacks him, not knowing that he's a beast and it's hard to get them out of his hands. He starts fighting them and dodges all their blows. He defeats them one by one and they fall to the ground in pain. He beats them, breaking their bones, and no one can even look at him. The leader gets scared and flees with the statue, but one of the gang members catches him and takes the statue from him. It turns out that he's a police officer, a colleague of John. He realizes that he took the statue and is about to leave the place, but the leader comes from behind and hits him. He falls, and the leader grabs the statue and flees. John is shocked and chases him. He fires a warning shot, but the gang leader yells. John assures him not to interfere. One of the gang members attacks him, and the leader takes advantage of the opportunity and makes a quick getaway. He gets into his car, escapes, and feels happy, thinking he's now safe. But not so fast. Poor guy. John, the fierce beast, gets on his motorcycle and drives at full speed. A long chase ensues between them. John's boss asks him to withdraw, worried about the statue, but John refuses. He insists on completing the mission, risking his life to the point where he lifts his motorcycle like a horse. This guy has been a driver for a long time, jumping from it onto the car's roof. Thanks to his skillful driving, he maneuvers the car left and right. He tries to shake him off, but John clings on like glue. He takes off his helmet and breaks through the car's roof, entering from there. The leader is surprised to realize he's not dealing with an ordinary person. He opens the car door, trying to escape. John, worried about the statue, manages to grab it at the last moment before it hits the ground. But then they have an accident, and unfortunately the car flips over and a big explosion occurs. At that moment, John's colleague arrives, sees what happened, and is upset, thinking John has died. He emerges from the flames holding the leader and the statue. His colleague is overjoyed that he's still alive. They return to their team, and their leader is pleased with the mission's success. But when he sees the statue, he's surprised to find its hand is broken and a bullet is stuck in it. John gets angry and asks who the fool was that fired the bullet, but then he remembers. Fortunately, he remembers it was the boss who fired it. When frightening the leader, it hit the ceiling and came down on the statue's hand, breaking it. He's afraid he'll be imprisoned and tells his boss, "I'm sorry, consider me a potato under your feet." Indeed. The next day, the minister scolds the boss, tells him to fire John or he will be punished, the whole team will be punished, and make life difficult. The boss apologizes and asks him to give John another chance, as John is a brave and smart officer, but his thinking is limited. The minister is convinced by his words and agrees to keep John, but with one condition: he gives him a new mission file and asks him to do it. The boss is surprised. At night, he gathers the team and they are upset and are discouraged, but he informs them that the minister has given them a new mission. They get excited. He tells them that it is at the most famous annual school in Korea. He informed them that 100 years ago, the emperor gave the school principal a large amount of gold and asked him to help the resistance to defeat the Japanese occupation. However, the principal was greedy for the gold and hid it in the school because he thought they would lose the war anyway. But the resistance won and Japan lost. The emperor decided to arrest him, and the principal had to take part of the gold and escape abroad, leaving the rest in the school. Since then, the gold has been in a secret place and no one has been able to reach it. But recently, they received information that the owner of the country. That's why they need to stop her. He asks John to enter the school as a student and find out the location of the gold. This is the mission. John is surprised by what he heard and thinks he's joking. But the leader tells him that there is no other solution. They find out that the gold is worth more than $800 million. They must seize it before it leaves the country. He reassures him no one will suspect him as he looks young and handsome. John is forced to agree as he has no other choice. It's not enough that the disaster he caused almost got him expelled. Your anger, you failure. Oh, your anger, you failure. You failure, you failure. On the other side, we see a beautiful girl named Sion, and we learn that she works as a teacher. She stays out late with her colleague at a nightclub to celebrate their manager's birthday. Since she is still new in the field, she kept singing and dancing to make the manager happy. He is happy about what she did, but he asks her to drink. Her co-worker gets worried and tries to stop her as she's not used to drinking and he fears she could spoil the party. The manager insists, and Sion reassures him that she'll be fine. It's just lemon juice, so it's harmless. We are in Ramadan, but the manager insists, Sion reassures him that she'll be fine. It's just lemon juice, so it's harmless. However, she takes a sip and from there she starts to feel dizzy, hallucinates, and everything starts to go wrong. Afterwards, going home, she runs towards the manager and pulls his hair, but being clumsy, it turns out he was wearing a wig. She gets upset for embarrassing him. Our protagonist feels embarrassed and gets into a taxi to escape the place, heading to her mother's restaurant where she sees, while he is sitting drinking, she is noticing his handsomeness. But suddenly a group of students bully her mother and won't pay the bill. Seon defends her mother, asking if they know she is a teacher. However, they mock her as hallucinating. One tries to touch her. John intervenes, asking for an apology, but they refuse and fight him. They don't know he's a former officer, a skilled fighter, easily dodging their attacks. He hits them with any part of his body, forcing them to apologize to Seon's mother and pay the bill. Seon is impressed by his strength. Her mother thanks him and didn't want to charge him, but he insists on paying so he doesn't end up like them. He bids them farewell and leaves. Our heroine keeps looking at him, indicating she might be falling in love. After that, John returns home and recalls his memories from school, remembering how the bullying students used to beat him because he was an orphan. He gets angry and decides to accept the mission to get revenge on them. He calls his boss and learns that they have agreed. The next day, he attends a meeting with the team, where the boss explains everything about the mission. He informs them that this school is attended by the social classes. One of these classes is the student union, which controls the school to the extent that even the teachers are afraid of them. He advises him to stay away from them to avoid getting into trouble, and John promises that he will do so. The boss gives him a file with a new name, pretending he is from a rural village so that no one knows his true identity. He also asks him to learn some youthful slang to appear cool and be able to interact with the students. John understands that the mission is difficult, but he has no other choice but to agree. He tells him what to say and how to act perfectly. That night, the boss invites him to his house, and we learn that he raised him after his parents died. He tells his daughter, Shai, about the mission and informs her that John will join the school with her the next day. He emphasizes that if she sees him, she should pretend not to know him. She is happy and reassures him that she will do so. The next day, John wakes up early. He starts the mission, puts on the uniform, and heads to the school. The atmosphere is lively, and everyone is curious about who this new guy is. They wonder, who is this guy? Does he think he's the coolest late bloomer? The school is big and filled with wealthy people. He plans to settle in, but they act arrogantly and tell him to stay away from their leader, Lena. John is forced to comply and goes to the teacher's room to find out where his class is. There he finds Sion hiding from her teacher, and she is scared of him. John manages to escape and Sion is happy and thanks him, introduces herself. She tells him he will be in her class. However, when she sees his face, she is surprised to see he is the guy who made a scene at her mother's restaurant. He gets nervous, but she is naive and assumes he had faked his identity just to drink. She grabs him and warns him not to do that again so she won't have to hit him. John is relieved that she is naive and promises not to do it again, then heads to class. At this time, we see girls surrounding Lian. We also see another group bullying a student. They call Fat, calling him a panda lookalike. Sion enters the classroom and says a new student transferred and will join. John arrives and the girls are amazed, staring and asking him to sit with them. He leaves and sits at the back with the overweight student. Shia becomes nervous, sends a message to meet after class. John waits. She thought he was a teacher and agrees to help with his mission. In return, he must not let her father know her school activities. John is happy and promises her, leaves her and returns to the classroom. However, he dozes off during the lesson, and Sion notices and tries to wake him up. When he gets up, he hits her because he is always ready and on alert for a fight, which surprises her. So she hits him to make him focus. After the class, two girls approach him and ask him to follow them on Instagram, but he doesn't understand anything about what Instagram is. He tells them, "Thank you, I'm not hungry really," thinking they are joking, and they laugh at his words. During the break, he goes to call his teammate and asks her to do these things for him. She asks him, "What things?" He replies, "Instagram and the nonsense they talk about. I'm just a farmer from Korea." At the same time, we see the students chasing each other, and one of them spills juice on his clothes, gets upset, and is about to cry, wishing to finish the task quickly to leave. He goes for a walk in the school and sees an abandoned building with a no entry sign. He feels that the gold might be inside, so he goes to look for it but finds the door locked. Naturally, no entry means it's locked. Suddenly he hears a sound and sees the students. The bully's mocking the large student and he feels sorry for him. He remembered his youth, but he decides to walk away so the mission isn't compromised. However, due to the difference, he bumps into the cleaning tool. rules. The bullies hear the noise and see him, and he pretends he was looking for the bathroom. No one believes him because he lies, and they start to bully him. He gets angry and looks at them with rage, wanting to grab them and break their bones with a stick. Indeed, they become afraid of him, but as if he remembers his boss's words telling him that he must succeed in the mission or else he will be fired from his job. He is forced to listen to him, pretending to be a weak student and letting them hit and bully him. The chubby student gets upset and feels disappointed because he thought he would save him from the bullies. At that moment, we see him. You see Sion in the teacher's room, discussing John's actions at her mom's restaurant, calling him a troublemaker and repeating her observation. However, she feels upset, unaware he is an undercover police officer on a secret mission. She goes to the classroom to give a lesson, urging students to study for exams. She looks at John with disgust, thinking, "We understand you, annoying kid." He feels his stomach growl. He goes to talk to the chubby student and urges him to stand up. He asks him about the abandoned building, and the student tells him that it's the oldest building in the school and no one enters it. There are rumors that there are bodies buried there. John is surprised. Then we see the school principal at a journalist's funeral. She goes to console his wife, promising to care for her son. She sits with her assistant. From their conversation, we learn that she was the one who got rid of him in the first place, because he wanted to expose her and was building a case against a dangerous and crazy group of people. John phones his boss. Says about the abandoned building he saw at the school, "I suspect there's gold there." His boss encourages him to go in and check for himself. John decides to do just that. He moves and jumps over the fence, easily entering the school. He goes to the abandoned building and manages to break the lock. He's just about to enter when suddenly someone appears behind him, threatening him with a gun. He's surprised to see it's Sion wearing an armband. He realizes she has a patrol duty today. She asks him to take off his mask so she can see his face, but he uses his wits, directing the flashlight towards her face, taking advantage of the opportunity and pushing. He starts running, but she's fast and continues to chase him for a long time. Fortunately, she bumps into a security guard, which delays her a bit, allowing Johnny to successfully escape from them. He calls his boss and tells him what happened, realizing he can't enter the abandoned building. Later, Sion also calls her mother, recounting what happened and reassuring her that she's fine, everything is fine, and the world is fine. She goes to her dorm and wishes she could meet the criminal again to catch him and take revenge. Coincidentally, John lives across, but they never see each other. Next day, the school principal learns what happened and tells the assistant to install a surveillance camera as the criminal will return. Meanwhile, the principal scolds Sion for letting the criminal escape the previous day. She tries to defend herself, but he doesn't listen and makes her work all day as punishment. She must comply. During break, she sits with colleagues, happy the principal forgot about what happened. Suddenly, he comes up behind her and she gets scared, accidentally spilling the drink on his face out of shock, soaking his clothes and him. After that, John leaves the classroom but sees the principal's assistant entering the abandoned building. He becomes suspicious and follows him, but the security guard stops him, pulls him away from the building, and warns him not to enter there again. John pretends not to know the school rules because he's new, so the guard lets him go. He hears a sound coming from the trash can. When they open it, they are shocked the chubby student is tied up and locked inside. The bullies did this to him. They help him. John pities him as he's kind and helpless. He asks why he doesn't defend himself, and the student reveals he's an orphan living with his grandmother with no one to complain to. John relates to him. Miss Yoon sees him. The student is in a bad state. She asks who did this to him, but he doesn't want to tell her the truth. He says that he fell on his own because he's afraid of the bullies and he leaves him and walks away. But of course, we all know here that our silly heroine with her cunning mind suspects John and thinks he's the one bullying him. She takes him to the library to interrogate him and asks if he's a bully, but she finds out that he was actually helping him. Yoon notices that his eyes resemble the criminal she saw yesterday, so she tries to cover his face with her hand to make sure. But John is afraid she'll discover him, so he quickly moves away from her, and because of that, she stumbles and falls to the ground. She gets angry, ready to hit him. "Now you're under surveillance." Not to cause any trouble, John humors her. He leaves her and walks away. At that time, his team sees the news. They find out the school principal plans a big project costing $800 million, and that's the same value as the gold. They confirm she will sell. This means that Johnny needs to find the gold and complete the mission as soon as possible. After that, we see the student union team having a meeting and the bully arrives late as usual. Shai blames him for what he did to the chubby student and asks him to stop bullying him because it's wrong. However, he refuses and mocks her because Lena is still hesitant to join them, and if it weren't for that, she would have been ostracized. Shai gets upset by his words, but Lena insists that he apologize or else she'll expel him because she's richer than him. He gets scared of her and is forced to listen to her. She is happy, and after the meeting, she goes to thank Lena for what she did. Then John goes to have lunch with the chubby student, trying to lift his spirits by giving him his food. The student is happy and thanks him, deciding to tell him about the abandoned building because there are terrifying rumors about it. They learn that there used to be a talented student whose dream was to become a ballet dancer, but the other girls were jealous of her and kept spreading rumors every day. They bullied her to the point where they would put nails in her shoes to make her stop dancing. One day they chased her until she had an accident and unfortunately she lost her legs. Because of that, her dream was shattered. She felt hopeless and decided to end her life to find peace. The bullies had to bury her body under the building so that no one would discover what they had done. But later, the security guard saw the girl's ghost. She attacked him. Since then, the place has become abandoned and no one enters it. The chubby student finishes his story and our protagonist is terrified by what he heard as he fears ghosts. Suddenly, the bully arrives and starts bothering the student, ruining his food, and demands that he eat it. The student is scared and was about to do it, but John stops him by throwing the food on the ground to prevent him. The bully gets angry and decides to fight him, but this time John defends himself and grabs his hand, almost breaking it. He warned them to stay out of his way, and whoever stands in front of him, he gives them a punch in the stomach. Everyone is surprised by his strength. The bully tries to attack him again, but Sion arrives and stops them, asking them to go to the office. The principal comes in and allows the bully to leave without doing anything to him, and he decides to punish John. Sion arrives and blames him for what he did because she thinks he is the one bullying others, the overweight student. But he remains upset because the schools are still the same and haven't changed. They never please the criminal, and he tells her, "Are you stupid or unaware of the truth and just acting? I hope you don't stay like this." He leaves her and walks away. Sion gets upset by his words. She doesn't know what's happening and she goes to her mother's restaurant. She keeps drinking and feels upset because John's words hit a nerve. She felt that she wasn't fit to be a teacher. Her mother tries to calm her down because of the customers and encourages her encore. At that time, we see John's team celebrating because they think the mission is almost over. But suddenly the minister walks in on them. He shows them the video of John fighting with the bully. He asks to meet him, almost exposing himself and ruining the mission. He realizes he can't be a successful officer, like his father. John gets upset by his words and apologizes to him. When he leaves, his boss tries to console him. He gives him a device that can open any lock. John thanks him and leaves, but he's still feeling down. On the way, he remembers his memories with his father. On his birthday, his father gave him a watch, but his father had a mission and had to leave. He said goodbye to John, unaware it was their last meeting because his father disappeared afterward. He snaps back and heads to school to complete the mission, but a chubby student sees him, gets curious, and follows him, calling him. John is surprised and pretends to confirm a rumor, and he has to take him along. They enter the building and keep walking until they see a person full. When he feels threatened, he throws a metal object at them and starts running. John dodges it and begins to chase him, but he can't catch him. He finds a secret room and uses the device he took from his boss to unlock it. When he enters, he finds a map and old papers, realizing that the school principal is also searching for the gold. She is sitting in her office watching him because she has installed a surveillance camera and is suspicious. Later, John hears a student screaming, and when he approaches, he finds a ghost there, terrifying the girl. They are shocked to realize the dead student's story is true. He sees a key on the ground and takes it. Suddenly, the principal's assistant enters nervously and tells them they were looking for the girl's ghost, but asks them to keep it secret and escorts them out. John is reassured and then goes to his team. He shows them the key he found next to the skeleton, which has the beginning of the treasure hunt written on it. He informs them that there is a puzzle they need to solve to reach the gold. The team is surprised by his intelligence and asks him to find the gold before the school principal does. However, she is already aware of what happened from the assistant and decides to let John solve the puzzle, planning to take the gold once it's found. The next day, John goes to the school, goes to the He asks the student to tell him the rest of the scary stories. The student agrees and takes him to the library, where he tells him that the second story is related to the old clock. He explains that it chimes on its own at night, and if anyone is nearby, they will see a ghost. John is intrigued, and suddenly Sion enters, pulls him by the ear and takes him to her office. She tells him to return the stolen item to the student. John is surprised and claims innocence, realizing that the bully must be the thief, but she doesn't believe him and threatens him to return it on time. The minister learns from his assistant about the execution plan. The broken arm story is fake, and he is surprised because this means John is innocent, didn't fail in his mission, nor lost a national treasure. He hides the truth to force John and his team to continue the mission and find the gold. Later, John receives a call from his teammate, revealing the person he saw was the security guard. He decides to go talk to him and confronts him with what he knows. The guard breaks down and reveals the truth. He tells him, "I was putting food out for a hungry cat, but it ran away and entered the building, so I had to go in after it. There I saw the treasure. I tried to hide it, but when you and your friends came in, I got scared of losing my job, so I ran away." John believes him and realizes he's just a simple guy. He reassures him that he won't tell anyone and leaves him. Then he goes to meet his team, to inform them about what happened. but he is surprised to find that they have opened a restaurant next to the school also they can be close to him and communicate with him at any time without anyone suspecting them. At that moment, Sion is on her way home and sees the bully forcibly taking the overweight student. She is puzzled and follows them to understand what is happening. A girl sees him hitting the student and is shocked to find out that he is the one who stole his card. She goes to stop him and asks him to come to her office, but the bully refuses and mocks her because she is still new. He warns her to stay out of his way and threatens to have his father get her fired from the school. The overweight student thanks her for helping him and apologizes for causing her trouble, then leaves. At that time, John is on his way home. He sees an old lady struggling while crossing the street, blocking traffic. He decides to go help her. And Lena sees him. John stays with the old lady until she reaches her destination, and he is surprised she is his classmate's grandmother. The grandmother thanks him for being kind. She gives him $2, and the student feels embarrassed because it's a small amount, but John doesn't want to embarrass her, so he takes it and thanks her. He sits with the student and gives him his phone number so he can call him anytime he needs help. The student is happy and thanks him. Later, Sion is on her way home but remembers what happened at school and feels helpless. She goes to buy a juice and it's the last bottle in the store, but she is surprised to find that John wants it too. They start arguing over it, but John ends up taking it. She gets upset and follows him. He sits with her and she apologizes for being unfair, saying, I thought you were a bully. John is happy to hear her say that she knows the truth now. However, she notices that he removes vegetables from rice and is surprised because it reminds her of her childhood friend, someone I knew. And I can tell you now that he is definitely her childhood friend, and she is also his childhood friend, and both of them were, as for me, I'm not surprised at all, but continue with me and don't. This time the police go to arrest the fat student's grandmother on charges of gambling. The student keeps crying and calls John to help him. He goes with Sion to the station and there he tells her that surely the bully is behind what happened. Our heroine is surprised and decides to expose him. When she returns home, she keeps thinking and posts in the school's group revealing all the bully's misdeeds, and the students find out. The news reaches the principal, and he wants to know who posted it so he can punish them. He suspects our heroine but has no proof. However, she acts innocent and claims she didn't do anything. She confidently says, I know who did it, the rotten traitor, and if I catch him, he'll regret it. The principal believes her and is convinced of her innocence and naivety. He tries to calm her down, saying, don't worry, he'll reveal himself eventually. But her colleagues know that she was the one who did it because all her actions are obvious. At night, John goes to the library and stands by the old clock trying to open it but fails. Suddenly, the headmistress surprises him from behind, introduces herself and asks him what he's doing there. Nervously, he tells her he was curious to see the clock, but she laughs as he can't lie, and John gets scared, feeling she might uncover his truth. He apologizes and leaves. The next day, she holds a meeting, asking the student if the bully hits him, but out of fear, he tells them he didn't do anything and informs them John is the one being exposed. He is being bullied, a betrayal from those closest to you. Sion is surprised by his words, and she sits with him and asks why he didn't tell the truth, but he starts crying, remembering what happened yesterday. We learn that the bully waited in front of the house and threatened him, saying if he confessed he would harm his grandmother in prison. He was forced to confess. The student snaps back and asks Sion to stay away from him because he doesn't want any trouble. At night, heading home, he finds John waiting for him and asks why he did that. The student cries, explains, apologizes, says he's ready for any punishment, but John tells him he's not upset because he's a victim, and then leaves. John calls a teammate and asks him to gather information about the bully. The next day, a notice is up, and everyone learns that there will be a disciplinary hearing for John. They are shocked he might be expelled from school. However, our protagonist doesn't care and decides to prove his innocence. He rides his motorcycle to a gang's betting headquarters. He enters and tells them, I'm not here to cause trouble, you guys look like a bunch of thugs, and I'm not into thuggery. But they mock him and decide to beat him up, thinking he's just a weak young man. They don't realize that he will turn into a fierce beast. He decides to give them a harsh lesson, hitting one of them and defeating him in a matter of seconds. He starts fighting with the rest, and although he is a handsome young man, he is dangerous in a fight. He takes them down one by one with powerful blows, leaving them in pain. He defeats them and breaks their bones. The brave one reaches his team to help him, but they are surprised he handled it alone. He captures the gang leader and takes him on his motorcycle, heading to the school. The disciplinary session starts soon, and everyone is there except John. Sion anxiously calls him, but he doesn't answer. The school principal repeats her explanation. But suddenly our son John arrives and the students are surprised when they see him and are impressed. He enters the meeting and apologizes for being late. They realize he has a witness with him to the crimes committed by the bully. He asks the leader to confess everything, or else his face will be broken just like what happened. He decides to confess and tells them that the bully is working with him in gambling and he also steals people's cards to use them. The bully is shocked by what happened and tries to deny it, asking the chubby student to support him. But finally, the chubby student bravely tells the truth saying John is innocent and that the bully is the one who hits him and even threatened them to lie. John thanks him happily. He reassures him that he will stay by his side to protect him, but the bully in anger attacks John. Our hero, Strong 2, tells him, "An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, the starter is more unjust." He hits back and breaks his nose. The lawyer, surprised, tries to hit John, but Sion cautions him, "Watch your hand, Star," and realizes John's vulnerability. She channels her ninja spirit and falls to the ground. After proving innocence, she sits with John and treats his wound. But they keep looking at each other, and they admire each other. John thanks her, and removes a flower from her hair. Our heroine gets nervous because she can't fall for a student of hers, so she leaves, shy. Afterwards, John sits with the chubby student in a restaurant to learn about the story of the old clock. The student tells him that a long time ago there was a studious girl, but she always came in second. And because of that she was jealous of her top-ranked classmate and resented her for being smarter and always coming in first. So she decided to get rid of her and pushed her off the roof, thinking that this way she would become the top student. But one day, while she was studying alone at night in the library, she suddenly heard the sound of the clock. She felt that someone was near her, so she got scared and ran to hide in the girls' bathroom, and suddenly the ghost of her dead classmate appeared, with red eyes, to take revenge on her. The student finishes his story and John pretends that they are not scared, but suddenly his team appears behind him, startling him, and he almost loses control. He invites the student to dinner, which makes him happy. The next day at school, he tries to open the clock again but can't manage it. She enters and hangs a picture of the student council, and John helps her, but he notices the clock again in the pictures and uses it. He is surprised and asks about it, and they tell him that it is in the student council room. He is shocked and realizes that this is the clock he has been looking for, and he decides to go see it but finds the room's door locked. Lena sees him and understands that he needs to be a member of the student council to enter. She offers him a gift and suggests that he join her team instead of the bully, who was expelled from the school. But John refuses to take it and acts above her, telling her not to waste her money. Lena is surprised by his personality, but she grows increasingly impressed with him. Later, he goes to Sion and tells her he wants to join the student council team. She agrees, but informs him there are two important conditions. First, he must be among the top 10 in the school, and second, he must collect 100 student signatures. He is surprised and realizes it's a difficult task, so he goes to his team to find a solution. They realize that they will help him gather the signatures, but he must focus on studying to succeed. John is forced to listen to them to complete the task. The next day, he starts studying diligently. Meanwhile, his team organizes a party in front of the school, distributing free food to the students who will vote. John gets a sandwich. The students are happy to sign the form. At the end of the day, his boss gives him the signatures and tells him that all he needs is to succeed and be among the top 10. John promises to do so, but then Shiha asks to talk. He meets her upstairs, surprised that she opposes him joining the student union. She threatens exposure, fearing he'll learn that Lena treats her like a servant. She agreed to join the student union, and at night, Lena goes home. She is the daughter of the school principal and wants to sleep, but her mother gives her pills to stay awake longer and study all night. Lena is forced to listen to her. At that moment, Sion calls John and is surprised to find out he is exhausted from studying, and she decides to visit him. He is worried because their apartment doesn't have anything, and he asks his team to help him. They realize they have 10 minutes and decide to use their authority as officers to borrow everything they might need from their neighbors, whether it's a wardrobe, a bed, a mattress, or anything else. They manage to furnish the apartment. The apartment was furnished in 10 minutes, while here in Egypt, we furnish it in 10 years. Sion arrives early, and the team gets so nervous one of them pretends to be the butler. However, the leader hides in the wardrobe. John opens the door for Sion and she has made him food, but as he's nervous, he spills it on her clothes. She goes to the bathroom to clean it, and when she comes out, she asks him to relax and attempts to tidy up the place. However, she slips and falls on the floor. John tries to catch her, but he ends up falling on top of her. He accidentally tastes the fabric and both of them feel embarrassed. But one of his team members wanted to sneeze, so he opens the wardrobe and emerges. Sion is surprised when she sees them and is confused. She asks John about them and they try to lie to her, saying they are John's colleagues from the restaurant and were planning a surprise for him. However, she is skeptical because they were hiding in the wardrobe. John is forced to pretend that he's sick, falls and faints. His boss picks him up and takes him away, escaping from the place. He blames Sion as if she were the cause and she is bewildered. He is preparing for the exam to focus to pass, solving all the questions. Sioni collects the papers suspicious of him. At night she drinks to forget it, gets dizzy, and starts hallucinating. Because of this, she accidentally goes to John's house nearby. She keeps calling to him until her mother comes and takes her inside. John sees her and laughs. The next day he goes to school, anxious about the results. Nervous when he sees his grades, he is surprised that he He is happy because he can join the student union. He calls the team to inform them and they are delighted and celebrate as Shahia, the daughter of their president, won. Because of this, Lena is upset because she was second. She sits alone in the library fearing her mother. John goes to her and informs her, asking her to join the student union team. However, he notices that she is not herself and asks if she is okay. She refuses to tell him anything, and then she receives a message from her mother saying if she leaves him, she will punish her. At night, John sits with team, and they ask if he can get close to Lena to join the student union. He says, "Shame on you, I'm handsome, a wink charms 55. He assures he will handle it. The next day he goes to Lena, as she eats and tries to get close to her, offering water in case she chokes. But she embarrasses him and refuses it, so he drinks it, and everyone laughs. However, afterward, Lena decides to accept him instead of the student who was bullied. He meets the students, and when the meeting ends, he takes advantage of everyone leaving and tries to open the watch. But suddenly, Lena walks in on him. He pretends he was just looking out the window. She invites him to dinner, and he agrees to gain her trust. However, he gets nervous and tries to skip it. Lena refuses, giving him money to buy whatever he wants for himself. At night, the three of them go to the restaurant and Lena starts acting mean to her in front of him to show that she's better than her, treating her like a servant. She tells her to go buy her a new pair of shoes. John is surprised and realizes this is the secret that she has been hiding. He gets upset and defends her. After dinner, he talks to her and asks her to stop listening to Lena, but she cries and tells him not to interfere in her life because she serves Lena willingly. She leaves him and walks away. Later, Lena returns home and her mother is waiting for her. We find out that her mother is the one forcing her to do it. She asked her to include John in the student union to watch him and locate the gold. At night, John enters the school, opens the clock but finds nothing inside. Suddenly, someone slides a letter under the door and runs. He reads it. "I know you're an officer." He is shocked he is discovered. The next day, he tells his superior and they consider who knows his true identity. John is home and suddenly he receives a message from the school security guard. It knows the truth and asks him to come meet him because he has important info. John agrees and decides to go to him. We see the guard waiting for him on the rooftop, but suddenly a masked person enters and tries to take the note he is holding. The guard defends but is overpowered and suddenly, boom, a shot is fired. After that, our protagonist arrives but finds the guard standing. He immediately realizes he is gone forever. When he approaches him, he finds a note. Surprised, it's his father's journal, missing for 20 years. Yes, dear viewer, our protagonist's father, whose whereabouts were unknown, long searched for and missing, reappears through his journal. He sees the masked man, and they chase him. The masked man tries to attack him, but our protagonist is a ninja, swift and dodges attacks. He hits him, breaking it, and he falls. He wants to unmask him, but the masked man pushes him. There are cars waiting, and he gets in. He escapes and we find out that he is the assistant to the president and she was the one who asked him to get rid of the guard. However, he apologizes for not being able to retrieve the documents from him. After that, John goes to the minister and hits his guard, forcing them to leave and closing the door because the matter seems serious. He argues with the minister and shows him his father's documents, threatening him by saying the truth. "What is going on, son? We understand what is happening." The minister gets scared and realizes that John's father had the same mission as him, tasked with finding the gold, but he suddenly disappeared. John is shocked because the truth was hidden from him and he becomes distressed, but his boss arrives and stops him, taking him to the rooftop. However, John is devastated and decides to withdraw from the mission. When he returns home, he reads his father's documents and discovers that he had written a lot of information about the school, and information that could help him find the treasure. The next day, news spreads about the guard's death, and the student thinks he died because of ghosts, making everyone scared. Sion enters the classroom to take attendance and notices that John is absent, finding it strange and thinking he might still be sick. At that time, John's teammate disguises himself in a student's clothes and decides to enter the school to continue the mission, but his team refuses because he looks too old and no one would believe he's a student. They feel discouraged, and suddenly John walks in and says that he will continue the mission to find the treasure and discover the reason for his father's disappearance. The team encourages him and he leaves them to go to school, making the students happy. However, Sion deducts 20 points from him because he was late and absent. After class, Gon enters the student union room, goes to the clock and uses his father's notes. He reads some instructions and starts to follow them, successfully managing to open it, and music starts playing. He records it on his harmonica, but suddenly Sion enters and tells him, "I was at school yesterday and saw you fighting with the masked person in the corridors, and I know he's not a student." She opts to report him. Juno agrees to cover up the mission and she opts to tell the police. He locates Nashurti and there's a secret mission and he tells her about the gold he's seeking. Sion fears his words. Juno seizes the chance and closes the door, threatening if she tells anyone, she'll go to prison for 100 years. Sion fears him and foolishly believes, promising secrecy and help. At night, he goes to his team, plays music, and says the next clue is about the piano. He tells them about Sion, but his boss is angry and tells him to apologize. Juno listens and waits at her mom's restaurant. He jokes and assures her help will be honored. She imagines being famous and respected. She agrees. What do you want? I'm at your service, even the impossible. Juno is delighted and goes to the music room next day. At the school, he starts reading his father's notebook again to discover what is going to happen. He discovers a talented piano student, but her teacher deceived her. When he found out she was pregnant, he abandoned her. In despair, she decided to fly, but later, the teacher was surprised to see the piano playing itself, and her ghost appeared. Since then, the piano is cursed, and no one approaches it. John finishes reading, surprised by his forgetfulness. When he asks her where the piano is, she says it's in the principal's office and no one can enter it. However, she says there's a big party soon and everyone will be there causing chaos. She says it's the perfect opportunity to enter the office. John is delighted and happily meets the student union team, saying he wants to join the party. However, Lena refuses and says he can't join due to losing 20 points. Our protagonist is surprised. Later, he sits with his team to think of a solution. Suddenly, Sion enters and tells them there is a way to regain the points, which is by filming a commercial for the school. Our protagonist refuses because the idea is embarrassing, saying, "It's impossible for me to do that. My charisma will be at stake. How will my future self look at me?" But the next day, he goes to school with Sion and is forced to listen to her because the task cannot be ignored. She starts teaching him some cute moves to perform while he is being filmed, but they refuse by mocking his appearance. When they remind him of the task, they get scared and back off. He is forced to listen to her, content and not upset, and he starts imitating all her movements, acting as if it's a commercial shoot, impressing everyone with his charm. The girls keep looking at him, and at night, he decides to invite Siona to thank her for helping him. He feels that she reminds him of his old friend. Later, as they are walking, it suddenly starts to rain. Her mother calls her to take an umbrella, surprising John with the name of his old friend, confirming that she is the one he used to meet. He catches up with her, looking at her happily, thinking, "Finally, I saw you." But she doesn't recognize him and mocks his name, then leaves him and walks away. He returns home and looks through their old photo album, reminiscing about their memories together. We learn that she was his first love. He is happy that they met again after all these years. The next day he goes to school. He sees her cleaning the office while dancing and he keeps watching her. But she feels embarrassed and goes to attend a meeting with the employees. The manager enters and asks them to help choose the picture of the most beautiful student. Naturally, they choose Lena because she is the president's daughter. When it's the student's turn, Sion wants to choose John and asks them to hold a vote. They do so, and she becomes anxious, fearing the task might fail. Fortunately, John wins, and when our protagonist hears the news, he is delighted and celebrates with his colleague and invites them to lunch. But he sees something, and she is struggling with many books, because he considers her like a sister and goes to help her. Afterwards, he sits down to talk with her and apologizes for interfering in her life. She is happy with his words and decides to forgive him. She tells him that Lena is not bad, but her life is difficult because of her mother, and I am the only one who can tolerate her. At night, John sits with his team. They talk about the piano ghost and realize that one of them must play it. But the talk, everyone is scared and no one agrees to do it. Suddenly, Sion enters and tells them she is willing to play. They are surprised by her courage. John tries to stop her because he is worried about her, but she is determined. He asks her about the reason, and she tells Sion about a student she used to know. She promised her that she would become a successful teacher, so now she has to fulfill her promise. John is moved by her words and reluctantly agrees. The next day, they find out that no one can enter the court to play the piano because it first requires fingerprints. The principal or the assistant? Sion goes to the assistant in the library. She takes advantage of the opportunity and takes a book from him that he was holding and she gives it to John. Liddy's done. Benji comes to lift the fingerprints, then he takes her to train her so she can defend herself. He starts teaching her combat moves, but he gets nervous when she gets close to him, feeling embarrassed because she hugged him. He tells her that's enough and leaves. At night, he takes her to sit with his team and they agree on the plan for the party. Sion feels happy and like a police officer. The next day, the party is scheduled. John goes to the school, waits for Sion, but when she arrives, he is surprised to see her wearing a lovely dress. He is impressed by her beauty and keeps looking at her. Then the school principal arrives, welcomes the guests. They prepare to execute the plan because it's the right time. However, John puts a necklace on her, which he realizes is a tracking device, so he can know her location and assures her he will protect her. Sion is happy he cares about her, thanks him and feels he likes her. Suddenly, the electricity goes out and they take advantage of the opportunity and both of them head to the principal's office. They try to open the door using fingerprints. The system gets stuck and the electricity comes back on, so they try to escape, but the guards arrive. John decides to fight them, starting to kill them while protecting Sion as if he's dancing with her. She moves wherever he goes, and he tells them that anyone who approaches the lady is sentencing themselves to death. They take a weapon, boom, and he knocks them out. Sion is impressed by his strength and uses the training that she learned to help him. They realize they might defeat him, and it becomes beneficial. They seize the opportunity to enter the principal's office. They play the piano and notice a broken key that doesn't play, so nothing happens. John opens the school principal's device but finds his file on it with all the information about him. He is surprised she knew everything about him from the beginning, and that he is not a student, while she pointed out. And this means there is a traitor in the team. He is shocked by what he knows and has to leave quickly before someone comes in. After the party, he goes to meet his team and tells them about the broken piano key. But he refuses to say anything about the file he saw because he doesn't know who among them is the traitor. When he returns home, he starts connecting the dots and decides to find out the traitor himself. On the other hand, Sion tries to uncover the secret of the piano key because it plays without sound. She starts looking for the words spoken during the playing, as they form a sentence that might lead them to the gold. Excited by her discovery, she decides to inform John and goes to meet him at the supermarket. She tells him the solution to the piano puzzle, but she sees he is being cold and unenthusiastic, surprising her. Johnny explains while sitting with her at her mom's restaurant. He reveals there is a traitor in the team, troubling him as he suspects everyone. She comforts and reassures him she is by his side. Her words make him happy, and they walk together to the house. On the way, he confesses he was the boy who admired and protected her long ago, her childhood friend. Sion is surprised to find out that he is and changed his name, which is why she didn't recognize him. She is happy to have met him again, but she feels embarrassed because he was her childhood love. She leaves him and goes into her apartment. The next day she goes to school but finds his card, one from the student union team with a link on it. She decides to check it out and is surprised to find the end of year exam grades. She is puzzled because it's too early for the exams, and she realizes that the president is falsifying the other students' results. At the same time, John plants a tracker in the president's car to monitor her movements. Later, Sion calls him. She tells him about the forged results and asks for his help. He apologizes because his mission is to find the gold, and he leaves. However, he sees her studying and feels sorry as she is smart and dreams of topping. But her future and all her efforts depend on grades written early, and her was ruined because of the school president. At that moment, the president discovers from the wealthy student that the card is missing. She follows him into the bathroom and keeps hitting him until she breaks his nose. She makes him look like a zombie. After that, our protagonist sees Sion staying up late at school. All of this is to find evidence against the president. He admires her determination and decides to help her. They start reviewing old results to prove they are forged. They stay up late until Sion falls asleep. John doesn't want to disturb her and covers her up. He continues and falls asleep exhausted. Sion wakes up, sees him, and is happy. She also covers him and keeps watching over him. Her eyes show hearts, making it clear that she admires him. The next day, John goes to his team. He asks them to help him, but his leader refuses. He tells him to focus on the mission. We must find the gold, or the team will be punished. John is upset, but he refuses to give up. He decides to investigate himself. At night, the school principal returns to find Lena waiting for her. She asks why she shows the result. She tells her, "You are my daughter, and you must come out on top at all costs, and you must cut ties with the girl named She because she is not on our level." Lena gets angry at her words, knowing she can't leave She behind, and she decides to leave the house. She goes to She and asks if she can stay over. She is surprised but agrees, and they sit down to eat together. She's mother is delighted and warmly welcomes her as it's the first time she's meeting her daughter's close friend. Lena is touched by staying over, missing maternal affection, and feels like she is among family. Sion finds evidence that helps her. She is thrilled and goes to tell John, but when she arrives, she is surprised that his house is open. When she enters, she finds a masked person inside. She is shocked and asks who he is. She tries to call police, but the villain stabs her in the stomach and escapes after John returns to find her lying on the ground, and he rushes to her. He finds out that she is still alive and quickly takes her to the hospital to save her life. He feels guilty and is afraid of losing her, but fortunately the injury is not serious and the doctors manage to save her. Her mother arrives and tells him to leave, and she stays by her side. He has to listen to her and meets his team, who reassure him that she is okay, and he leaves to be alone. His boss notices he is off and goes to talk to him, but John is rude to him, suspecting him as the spy. He wants to confront but changes his mind and leaves him. He goes to Sion and stays by her side, apologizing for endangering her. Suddenly, she wakes up and is happy with his concern. She reassures him she's strong and she won't die easily. His colleague calls him and says he identified the fingerprints of the person who was at his house, and it's a teacher from the school. John is surprised, realizing the boss sent him. He returns home and looks for his father's diaries but finds they have disappeared and realizes they were stolen in the meantime. We see the boss reading the diaries to find out what was there, and suddenly her daughter Lena comes in and asks her not to alter the exam results this year. She promises her that she will succeed and come out on top through her own efforts. She leaves, but the boss refuses and tells her assistant to carry out what they agreed upon. He goes to meet the teacher who stole the diaries, takes him in a car, and kidnaps him, thinking about it. consciousness and asks his men to finish him off so that there won't be any evidence against the boss. I'll say, well, the team of our hero was watching them and decided to rescue him. They attack the fingers, but they turn out to be clones and the fingers capture them too. And your jar, Abdel Moen appointing you, wishing you wanted to be helped. They apologize to them and keep crying, we are just kids, we swear we won't do it again and we'll walk behind you. They ask for help from anyone, feeling that their end is near. But our son arrives just in time. He surprises everyone, and the gang members are shocked and attack him. The boys didn't know who he was. A formidable beast. He fights them alone, breaking their faces. He succeeds in defeating them, leaving only the assistant. John goes to kill him, but he is strong and huge. A fierce fight breaks out between them. A violent brawl between the soap and the loofah, and my stomach is forced to use its secret skills. He attacks with all his strength and gives him a powerful blow, taking the car key from him. He stops it at the last moment before it enters the grinder, saving their lives. Afterwards, he takes the teacher with him to the hospital to make her testify about what was done to her. The next day, he goes to meet the boss and confronts her with everything, letting her know that the teacher confessed about her. The police arrive, arrest her, and everyone learns she was falsifying the exam results. News spreads in school and Sion is happy the truth is revealed, thanking John for helping her. He confirms his boss is not the spy. At night, he meets him, apologizing for suspecting him. They agree he will continue the mission to find the gold and learn his father's whereabouts. His boss is pleased with his words and encourages him. Next day, Lena hears the students talking about her, saying she was favored because of her mother. She gets upset and sits alone crying. Sion sees her and goes to talk to her. She tries to comfort her, asking her to prove to everyone that she's smart and can come out on top through her own efforts, and she is happy with her words and promises her. After that, they return to the classroom and agree with the student to cooperate in order to clean the school and make it look new. They actually do that, and John helps them, happy that they are united. They take pictures together while they are happy, but the joy doesn't last. Suddenly, the principal arrives and John is surprised that she has returned Sunadius. She approaches him with a smile, telling him that he is no longer welcome at the school and decides to expel him. John feels frustrated because she has defeated him, and he is forced to return to the classroom to gather his things to leave. The students are upset for him and want to help, but he refuses because he doesn't want to ruin their future. He thanks them and bids them farewell, leaving them and heading to his team. He told them what happened to him, and they suspect the minister is the one who got the principal out of prison, concluding he is the spy. They decide to continue the mission in secret, but suddenly investigators come in and start searching the place. They find a lot of money and accuse John's boss of taking a bribe, arresting him for questioning. John is shocked and wants to hit them, but his boss stops him because he is worried about him and goes with them. Later, they receive a message from the principal, laughing and letting them know she was the one who did it. She warns him if he gets close to her, she will imprison his team and expel Sion from the school, then hangs up. He feels a knot in his stomach and doesn't know what to do. He goes off alone to think, but Sion goes to him. She notices he is upset, but she encourages him to continue the mission and tells him she will keep helping him no matter what happens. John is happy with her words and decides to continue. The next day, Shia calls him to tell him what's happening at the school. She informs him that the principal has started her project, categorizing students based on their grades. Our hero is surprised and realizes that he doesn't have much time and must complete the mission and find his father as soon as possible. His team gathers at his house and they keep thinking together, reviewing all the evidence and information. Until he suspects that the gold might be hidden under the old school principal's statue, John decides to verify it himself. He disguises himself as a delivery worker and goes to the school as if he's a delivery person. Sion sees him and is surprised that he's risking his life. She pretends to be sick and goes to help him. They get closer to the statue and try to move it. They are surprised when it moves with them, and they are thrilled to have reached the treasure. But suddenly the principal arrives and becomes suspicious of John. He asks him to remove his helmet to see his face. Sion throws sand into the principal's eyes, taking advantage of the opportunity, and they escape. The principal learns what happened and gets angry. John seeks the gold. She decides to make him regret it. She shares a photo of Sion to the students and exposes them, surprised as they believed he was still a young kid and respected him. When Sion enters the classroom, they start mocking her, claiming she is involved with a student, her junior. The principal's assistant approaches her to expel her, but John arrives in time to intervene. He reveals his life to everyone, and Sion becomes scared. You might think he would tell them he's a secret officer, but instead he shows them a fake ID, explaining he's older and just wanted to study more. He pretends to be emotional as he's poor. The students believe him, sympathize, and forgive him for lying. They encourage him to study more and stay with Sion Gizibenstubandlan. However, the principal, who is unpleasant, interrupts and ruins the romantic moment. He is forced to leave the school, and Sion goes to see him off, happy he defended her. Afterwards, he sits with his team. His team agrees to enter the school at night because he suspects the gold is under the statue. They start executing the plan at night. John enters the school. He goes to the statue and manages to move it. He finds a secret room underneath. He is thrilled and thinks that the gold is in there. He decides to go down search for it. He is surprised to find the room empty. He sees a skeleton, is puzzled, and approaches it. He finds it wearing his father's watch. He realizes his father died here and he breaks down. He continues to cry over him. The day he finds him, he sees the skeleton At that moment, the headmistress arrives. John's team tries to delay her, but they can't, and she has a large number of guards with her. They are forced to let her in and she rushes to the statue, descending to the secret underground room. However, she is shocked to find no gold. She breaks down, lamenting that all the plans she made were for nothing. The next day, John decides to hold a funeral for his father after finally finding his body, confirming that he has unfortunately passed away. He is sad and has no desire to joke around. He has no desire to talk or do anything because he had hoped his father was still alive, but that hope died with him. Lysian feels sorry for his condition, stays by his side and tries to comfort him. His team feels frustrated and doesn't know what to do to lift his spirits. Suddenly all the students from the school arrive and he is surprised and touched that they came to support him. He feels happy and realizes he is not alone. He thanks them and decides to continue the mission to avenge his father. He goes to his superior and learns that a bullet was found suspecting the minister. They agree to work together to find evidence against him. However, the minister's son, Tate, fires John from his job. Our hero decides to seek justice for his father. The next day, he takes a gun and goes to confront him. Lysian sees him leaving the house and senses that he is up to something. She informs his team, who are shocked and rush to stop him. Meanwhile, John arrives at the hotel where the minister is. He threatens him with the gun and confronts him with what he knows. The minister gets scared and tries to escape, but John hits him and demands that he confess the truth. The minister breaks down and is about to confess everything, but his guards arrive and capture John. They decide to take him with them, unaware that his team and some crazy officers will make them pay for their mistake twice over. The team attacks them and fights them off, defeating all the guards until only one is left. Our heroine arrives and uses John's training to turn the situation around. The skilled girl gives him the upper hand in the situation. He endures to score a goal and grabs a fire extinguisher to spray, making the guards flee. They are spotted by the hotel security who wanted to arrest them, but his team arrives just in time. They ask him to escape while they distract them. Sion is worried about them because they are not his usual team. They are from a restaurant and their expertise is cooking. However, John reassures her, knowing that each of them is weak alone, but together no one can defeat them even though they had been caught before. The team cooperates and Owl takes them. His brother stands still, feeling the pain. They may seem random, but in a fight, they are fierce. They defeat all the gods and break their faces. Then they return home and John sits with them. He tells them he wasn't there to finish off the minister and that he did this to place a tracking device in his phone to monitor his movements and find evidence against him. At night, the minister goes meeting the headmistress. He tells her that John and the team are suspicious of him, argues and threatens to expose her, revealing her actions, recalling. Flashback to what happened in the past when both of them arrested John's father for the gold's location, but he refused. He tried to escape, but the headmistress took the gun from the minister and shot him, killing him. John overhears everything, is shocked to learn that the headmistress was the one who did it. He calls the minister saying he knows all, asking him to testify. They agree to meet, but when he arrives, he is shocked to find the minister dead. Someone comes and hits him on the head, knocking him out. The next day, he wakes up to find himself holding the murder weapon. The charge has been pinned on you, my friend. Police arrest him for the minister's murder and take him for questioning. John is shocked and realizes the headmistress did it. She visits him and says, "You turned out a criminal. Tell me where the gold is, and I'll get you out of the case and make sure you're not seen as a criminal." She threatens him, saying if he refuses, she will eliminate the evidence and give them a chance to think. She leaves him and walks away. John gets angry and decides to escape to prove his innocence. Before nightfall, he's in a police car, and even though he's handcuffed, his agility is impressive. He turns into a beast, attacks the detectives with him, takes a weapon from one of them, and threatens the driver, forcing him off the road. They have an accident, but like a cat with 9 lives, he gets out of the car, removes the handcuffs, and escapes the scene, though he is seriously injured. He calls Sion and asks her to help him, and suddenly he faints. Our protagonist is surprised and worried about him. She locates him and takes a taxi, deciding to go quickly to help him. She arrives just in time, supports him, and takes him home to heal his spirit. She stays by his side all night, taking care of him until his health improves and he regains consciousness. He thanks her, realizing that because of her, he was able to stand on his feet more than once and that the headmistress was the one who finished off his father. He asks her to leave that school and Sion insists on staying with the students to take care of them. Suddenly, his team arrives disguised because the police are watching them to find out their location. However, they are clumsy and the police still find their location. Our hero takes Sion to escape out the window. He hugs her and jumps, landing on mattresses. You might ask who put them there, and I'd say it's the dear director of the series, just a coincidence. Meanwhile, the one who jumped from the window lands on the ground. John says, "I know." He explains and leaves. He unleashes the ninja spirit within him. He tries a trick to distract the police. He manages to escape from them, but he is still injured and feels exhausted due to the wounds. He has to endure the pain. He takes recording between minister and school principal. He goes to the police station and hands it to the police, proving his innocence. He returns job and agrees. At that time, the school principal decides to expel Sion because she was helping John with the mission. This news reaches the students and they start protesting, demanding the principal to resign instead. The principal is surprised and realizes that John is going to arrest her. She gets angry and starts laughing like a madwoman. She decides to unleash the spirit of chaos within her, cuts the electricity, pours gasoline everywhere, grabs a lighter and decides to create a big explosion. The students are scared, feeling that their lives are in danger, but John arrives and tries to stop the principal, but she threatens him to drop his weapon. She takes it from him and grabs the lighter, laughing, and she wants to finish him, but her daughter Leanne arrives in time, crying and asking her not to do it, saying, I am your daughter? The principal is shocked and collapses, realizing her daughter knows the truth. She grabs the gun and decides to flee, but John stops her and manages to catch the lighter before it falls to the ground. The students are happy and concerned. They chant his name for saving their lives. The team arrives and arrests the principal so she can be punished. She must pay for all the crimes she committed due to her greed for gold and money. The joy slipped from her hands, depriving herself of her daughter's laughter. John feels relieved that the mission is finally over, but he feels exhausted, collapses to the ground and faints, worrying everyone. They quickly take him to the hospital and stay by his side until he regains consciousness and is happy to be okay. Afterwards, he goes to attend the principal's trial, and her assistant convinces him to testify against her so she can be truly punished. He does so, and she is sentenced to life imprisonment to pay for the crimes she committed. Her daughter visits her and tells her that she will start a new chapter, aiming to be the best through her own efforts. She tells her mother that she loves her and will always visit her. The principal is moved by her words and feels regret for having lost her daughter from her life. She starts to break down. The next day, John goes to the school to say goodbye to the students, and he is surprised they were all waiting for him. From the windows, they throw gifts and thank him for what he has done. They let him know they will always remember him. Our hero is happy and leaves, going home, but he discovers a secret compartment in his father's closet. When he opens it, he finds the gold they were looking for and is shocked. They can't believe it. He calls his boss to inform him that he found the gold and succeeded in the mission. He hands it over to the police and receives a promotion. Later, we learn that Sion has become the school principal. She goes to celebrate with her first class of students, and after a month, Shia graduates and decides to apply to the police to become John's colleague and join the team. On the other hand, Liana achieves her dream by entering art school and decides to become a painter. After that, our hero decides to confess his feelings to Sion. He takes her to a high place to watch the stars, presents her with a ring, and tells her she is the love of his life. He asks her to marry him, and of course, she is happy and agrees. Our hero prepares for her, and finally he lets her taste the raisins and all the sweets. They agree to continue their lives together. Their story ends with a happy ending. I hope you also stay happy, my dear, and don't forget to activate the notification bell and give your like. Goodbye!